Hello and welcome everyone to Amplifying Innovation with the Deeper Clarity Method with Nil. We're happy you're here. I am going to let Nil introduce herself and take it from here.
Hey everybody, my name's Nilufer Erdebil, but everybody calls me Nil, so feel free to call me Nil. Today, I'm super happy to be with you guys to talk a little bit about deeper clarity. So I always think of deeper clarity as great in order to be able to amplify innovation, and sometimes I call it a roadmap to innovation. If you like what you're hearing or if you want to chat, feel free to reach out to me. My Twitter handle is digital nil, or I'm always active on LinkedIn. For myself, I feel really happy where I'm at in my life. I'm originally actually from Turkey. I was born in Istanbul, and so Nilufer doesn't sound like most other names here in North America. That's where I'm from. And I have two amazing teenage boys that love skiing, and so I love going skiing with them. And I have a fantastic team at the bottom center that helps support me. There's more people in the background too, but that's actually from our book release back in last April. And where we released a book called Future Proofing by Design, Creating Better Services and Teams for the public sector using design thinking. And I also have a TED Talk where I talk about design thinking and solving complex problems. And in my spare time, I actually love figure skating. And so I love to compete as an adult figure skater in international competitions and have a little bit of me time. It's something that I used to do as a kid, and I'm able to go back to it over the last year and a half and am loving it. So I'll try to keep doing it for as long as I can, but that's pretty much me in a nutshell. And so today I'm going to talk a lot about the methodology, but there's also a huge mindset component to deeper clarity. And we'll touch a little bit more on that, but it's a lot about looking at opportunities, understanding people at a deeper level so that we can reframe challenges. So today I want to talk a little bit about the tools and the mindset and focus on what truly matters through that human-centered perspective using the deeper clarity method. And at the end, I'll have a quick self-assessment for you guys that might help you figure out what areas you might want to improve on as you move forward. So design thinking is a methodology that I've talked a lot about over the last little while. We've actually added in a couple more things to it so that it works better in organizations, especially in larger organizations, and brought in some aspects around alignment and strategic foresight, and then the mindset component of it. But because it's the base, I'd wondered if you guys could share a little bit about your level of knowledge around design thinking or human-centered design. What is your understanding or knowledge of design thinking or human-centered design? Is it a one where little bit of knowledge, or is it a five where you're an expert, or is it somewhere in between?
I'm definitely a one, so
Yeah,
this is
I'm a
all a
one.
new
Yeah, I'd be a
concept.
one.
Okay, perfect. Then that helps me understand how we want to go forward as we're getting to talk together today. So, um, and we'll get to know each other a little bit more as we go through, but do you guys have any examples of working in teams or having teams that weren't aligned?
I have lots of examples of that. In my corporate career, I've worked for many different companies, but one thing that always annoyed me, I was in corporate sales, and so I was feet on the street. I knew what clients and prospects wanted, so I was listening to what their needs and problems were. And then I would go back to marketing, and marketing would not listen to that at all. They're like, we've created this brand new collateral and it looks great, and it's all about benefits and features that I know that my customer doesn't care about. So I'm like, great, but why don't you create material around what I'm hearing the need is? And there was always a mismatch between sales and marketing. They weren't connecting and communicating properly. So that's really the best example I have.
I love that. And I think I've personally experienced that as well too, in at least one organization I've worked in. A huge disconnect between marketing, sales, and then even larger disconnect with what engineering was doing.
Right. I worked as a recruiter for 15 years in the tech sector, and misalignments between sales and production or design are just totally ongoing. It's almost an expected part of life.
Yeah, yeah, it's kind of funny, isn't it? It is almost like an expected part of life, but what if there's a way of getting out of that? And so that's what I want to chat a little bit more about is getting that deeper clarity and providing the tools, methodology, and the mindset so that everyone in the organization has an understanding of who the end customers are, what are their needs, what are their goals, what are their challenges, so that they're all able to look at it from the same perspective and make decisions along the way that are right for the customers and right for the customers that they have right now. And so deeper clarity is the methodology and the mindset, which has the principles of design thinking underlying, along with alignment, strategic foresight, and mindsets. So we'll come to that a little bit more. But as we've worked with larger organizations, we've realized that sometimes you need to unlock the dynamic mindset that's there and bring it out a little bit more. And even before then, you need to line up the team and make sure that they're aligned in terms of strategy, the tools, the method, and the mindset component of it. And so at the start of any project, we make sure that the team is aligned in terms of what they think the project is. And then once we go through and understand the customers a little bit better, have them be able to reframe what they think the problem is from the customer's perspective. And the beauty of deeper clarity is it allows for that unbiased collaboration with customers from the start all the way to delivery. And there's a lot of progressive action as new insights are being brought in. And so it's very iterative. And we want to make sure that as new insights come in, that we're able to adapt to them and make sure that we're going forward in the right direction. And there's a lot of empathy involved in deeper clarity too, that end user perspective. And so when I think about deeper clarity, there's a lot of great results that organizations we've worked with have had. First of all, hitting targets faster because you're able to align that team earlier on and they're focused on the end customer, then you're getting to results and results that create an impact, especially results that create an impact that customers are willing to pay for a lot sooner. And what we've noticed sometimes in organizations where they're tackling complex challenges or they're working in complex environments and organizations, sometimes there's a lot of ambiguity that people sit in for quite a while. And what that might come out as is a little bit slower getting started, or people feeling disengaged, or sometimes it's about not necessarily knowing what to do or how to get at it. And so it's about helping people understand how to get to identifying what that problem is, having everybody understand it at the same level, and then move forward. I know we've worked in the past with teams. One particular one stands out where they'd actually been on the project for 6 months, but they couldn't articulate what their challenge was. Everybody had their own definition of what the challenge was. And it took several sentences to get what that challenge was from each person's perspective, but it was all different. And so they'd been working like this for 6 months. And after working with us and taking our training, they actually were able to understand what their problem was from the same perspective and be able to start working on it. And that took less than 3 weeks. So it has a lot of impact in organizations where there is a lot of complexity. If there's multiple teams working together, if there's a new team coming together. And then the other amazing part about this is it helps understand, unravel new emerging types of clients. And so we take a look at what are your clients right now, as well as what they might be in the future. And also based on what you're seeing from input that you're getting from marketing, from sales, from customers, who a new type of emerging client could be. And sometimes this methodology has been amazing to prevent projects from moving forward. So, yeah, to prevent projects from moving forward. And that's because sometimes projects haven't had enough time in the discovery phase, not enough research has been done before Sometimes projects are funded or people are put into a team. And so if you're going through the deeper clarity methodology and mindset, and some of the questions haven't been answered, then it's probably an indicator that the project isn't ready to move forward and have people working on the project. And so if you're able to recognize early on when a project's not ready, then it's a lot easier to focus in on the ones that are ready and push forward on them instead of having people sitting in ambiguity and not knowing what they want to be doing. So I actually loved, I have an activity for you guys. I love doing this activity. So what I'd love to do is if you guys don't mind grabbing a piece of paper nearby and a pencil or a pen or markers if you have it. And I'm going to give you guys about a minute. And I would love for you guys to draw what Pascal's ideal vehicle would look like. And so grab a piece of paper, grab a pen. I'll give you guys about a minute. Think about what would Pascal's ideal vehicle look like. And you can't talk to her. And Pascal, if you want to draw your own ideal vehicle, you go right ahead. And
Got
so,
it.
yeah, okay, awesome. So we'll give you guys about 30 more seconds. And if we were to do this activity in a room, we make sure that people can't talk to one another to share ideas. And fortunately on Zoom, it's a little bit harder to share ideas. And so it works well in a virtual environment. So I'll give you guys about 15 more seconds. We're drawing, what does Pascal's ideal vehicle look like? Would I be able to get somebody to share their drawing?
Charles?
Not a chance.
Well, you can describe it,
I could
make it
describe
normal.
it, but I don't know if I could draw.
Okay.
So what I drew kind of looked like a small jet airplane with a big turbine on the back and winged feathered wings on the side to move forward.
Oh, wow. I
Okay.
love the way you think.
I love that. I love that. And Pascal, before you share, I want to do another part of this activity. Oh,
Sorry, I
yeah,
had her
right.
driving a really cute, like a Bugs. I don't know what the term is now. Like it's like a little cute box-like car that compact, efficient, fast. Is it called? It's funny that Charles and I both said a small car.
I like that Charles said wings. I like you said fast, but anyway, I'll
Yeah,
let
yeah.
you'll take
I love
over.
that. And so, yeah, Pascal's jumping ahead and providing input, but this is what happens most of the time in organizations is sometimes the marketing or salespeople will talk to the customers. Sometimes they don't. And they create an idea of what their customers would want. And a lot of the time it's based on our assumptions and also how much we think we know about the end customers. And so what I love doing with this activity is doing it a second time where we're actually able to ask Pascal questions and have a deeper understanding of what are some of her challenges and goals, values, fears, measures of success, and expectations from a vehicle, and then do the activity again and actually draw it out. The tool that I love using for this is a persona template. And so persona is usually a fictitious character that is brought forward to represent a group of clients so that you can continue to understand them as you're going through the development stage to marketing through sales. And it's created by actually talking to the people. And so what we're going to do is Pascal is going to have her own persona, and we're going to actually find out a little bit more about her. And then based on that, then we'll be able to create potentially a different vehicle for her. And so for you, Pascal, maybe you could give us a little bit of information about your demographics that you'd feel comfortable sharing. It could be anything. And so demographics could include things like people in your life, like kids, significant others, what you do to day, what your job is, your level of education, anything you want to share with us.
Okay, so for a job, I'm a CEO and financial strategist in my own firm. I'm also a tech chair with Tech Canada. In terms of day-to-day activities, I try to minimize my driving, but when I do, I'm all about safety and I'm very practical. So I do like a vehicle where there's lots of space for passengers. And I have honorary grandsons. I don't have grandchildren yet, but I like there to be space for skis and equipment and buying things in bulk in Costco. So anything else? Did I miss anything there?
That's
No.
awesome. Yeah. So we're getting a much better understanding of some of your needs are just from the description of your demographics itself, too. When we're thinking about our work environments, we would be doing the same for our customers as well, too. And I'll touch on this a little bit more, but sometimes there might be multiple types of personas for our customers. So Pascal, we're going to chat a little bit more actually. And so when when you are thinking about your goals with a vehicle, what are your primary, like 1 or 2 goals with the vehicle?
My primary is safety and security. So I'm willing to pay for a premium if it's safe, meaning I drive in Vancouver, the drivers aren't great. So I want to make sure that the safety standards are definitely up to spec. I've been in several car accidents, unfortunately, and I'm very happy I'm alive and well today. So safety is number one.
I love that. And so you're sharing your goals and your values together at the same time, as well as some of your challenges. And so one of the challenges is that you have been in car accidents in the past. What are some other challenges that you might have had with vehicles in the past?
I'm tall, so I definitely need legroom. I have tall children, so I don't want a car that looks pretty and then everyone's uncomfortable when they sit in it. So definitely comfort. And I love gadgets and all the newest technology. So I love all that stuff. So bring on all the technology
I
and
love that. So you've just shared a couple of challenges, and earlier I forgot to mention too, you also shared a fear of getting into car accidents, the legroom component of it, and I think earlier you'd also mentioned that you have you love skiing, and so you have a lot of equipment that would require more space as well too.
I
And
should say headroom as well.
I'm actually shorter, and I notice my kids are much taller. And so, yeah, there's always the looking for a vehicle that can do both, but you only have tall people. And so you need a vehicle that accommodates all tall people. Love that. And then, what might be some additional expectations for you in a vehicle?
Well, I love the vehicle I have now because it's lasts a long time. It's a depreciating asset, so that's not lost on me. But I really want good service that comes with the car. So one thing I've loved about my car, it's not a high-end car, but the service has been phenomenal. So any little thing that's wrong, I can get it in same day, great people. And so I don't want to have a headache if and when something does go wrong. I want it to be taken care of, minimal downtime. So that's definitely something I want along with it. I don't want, I have friends that have high-end cars, and I've heard many times, oh, I have a little piece and, I have to wait 8 weeks because it has to be imported from Germany. And, the little I have a friend who has a Rolls Royce, and I think he was replacing one of the what do you call it, the little levers or something, and that was like $6,000. I'm like, there's no
Oh,
way that would ever be me. I would rather spend my $6,000 somewhere else.
I love that. I love,
So
yeah.
yeah.
And so, what are some of the expectations that came out from what Pascal was describing? Charles and Raj, what are some things that you might have heard?
Well, I have to tell you that listening to what she had to say, I realized that my original design was completely off base. But I also recognized that she could be describing word for word my own outlook on my own vehicles, which is
Yeah.
really quite surprising. I mean, actually, what I'd like to know is what is it that she's driving? So, but yeah, practicality and all that and space for kids and everything is just I kind of tick 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 ticking off the box.
Great minds think alike, Charles.
Apparently.
And fools seldom differ. Raj, your insight?
It was that you're quite practical for sure. Um, and very calculated, like in the sense of exactly, you know exactly what you want. So that was interesting. Yeah.
In all areas of my life, absolutely. And I am a Taurus, so that might have something to do with the safety and comfort issue for people believing that. But
I love that. Now, Pascal, this is the hardest part for you is what are your top 2 measures of success for a vehicle if you could only choose 2 things? And then, and like, let's say you're looking
yes,
at 10
so
vehicles. How do we
Yeah, it
know
would be,
that
sorry.
one is the right one for you?
Safety, number one,
Yeah.
comfort, number two.
Okay. Those are the top two. Yeah.
Yeah.
When you say safety, can I ask
Yeah.
a question? Are you
Yeah.
referring to, like, for me, it's performance. So for example, if I'm putting on the brakes, and I've had this when I've had a Toyota Corolla, or a Neon, whatever I think I had before years ago, and it went through a hydroplane and it spun 360 degrees. That freaked me out. But with my current car, when I put on the brakes, it stops. Like
Yeah.
it's a performance, right? So is
Yeah,
that what
so
you mean?
when I say safety, so the last car accident I was in the passenger seat. And for those of you who are familiar with Vancouver, I was going south in Burrard. I'm in the passenger seat. So the driver's turning left onto Georgia. It's a red light. And so the car right across decided to run a red light.
Oh,
So that car crashed right into my door. And I would have been dead on the spot had it not been for the construction of the car. I'm not going to mention the make and name of the
Yes.
car. The way that this car was constructed, there was like a thick metal beam, and my apologies for people mechanics, but there was a thick beam going through the middle of the door. So that means instead of that car just crushing me, something stopped it, and all the
Yes.
airbags, everything went off. So if it hadn't been for that, I may not be here today. So that's what I mean by construction.
yeah.
And for me, it's a given that the specs of the car, like, mileage on gas, and it's got to be good braking and not a lot of lemons in that particular type of car. That would be definitely on my checklist. Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And Raj, thanks so much for the question too, because what people mean by specific words, it can vary quite a bit. And so getting a little bit more in depth, like what does safety mean to you? What does performance mean to you? And making sure that it's clear and everyone on the team understands that as well too. And at the end of the day, if we were a car dealership, we would have multiple different personas depending on the type of client that we would have in there. And I think for Pascal, you might be considered a little bit more into the safety and safety component of it, or depending on how you do your personas, one where a lot of leg room is required. Me, because of the kid skiing too, I would need a lot of space and room as well too. But the top two factors for me in the type of vehicle that I purchased were heated seats in the back, because I'm in Ontario and it is fairly cold in the winter times here, relatively cold, and then the height and space component of it are really big. And so it all depends on the different types of customers. And so in organizations, when we work with them, we recommend that they have between 3 and 8 personas, so different types of clients, so that everyone in the organization, everyone in the team understands who they are creating, what they're creating, whether it's a product, whether it's a service, whether it's a policy, a process, and that everybody understands it at the same level. And that's really helpful so that you're speaking the same language as you're defining what the problem is. And even if new people are coming on board, you can ramp them up and get them up to speed a little bit faster with the same understanding of who your end customers are. A lot of the time, I actually speak about an experience I had in Vancouver at a hotel probably about 6 years ago, where I went down there with 2 other people, and it took us a couple flights to get there. And my back was really hurting, so I wanted to grab a shower before we went out for dinner. And I went into the bathroom, and I wanted to turn on the shower. And so I turned the water on, and then I start looking at the shower to see, what do I push, what do I turn in order to be able to turn that shower on. And I was looking at it, and then I noticed, this is a picture of the shower, by the way. I noticed that it has a little drawing on the bottom right. And I was thinking, oh, that's really cute. They have instructions on how to turn on a shower. I don't need that. And so I laugh a little bit, and then I start pulling and pushing on stuff. And I'm starting to get cold. And so then I think, okay, maybe I'll take a look at the instructions and they can help me. And so I start reading the instructions and I'm laughing to myself because I'm reading instructions on how to turn on a shower. And it says to activate the heavenly shower, turn water on, which is fine. It's been running for a while. And then it says pull tub spout down in a downward motion, pull the tub spout in a downward motion to activate the shower spray. And so my back is hurting. So I think, okay, what if I push down on the tub spout? So the tub spout is like coming out. And so I'm pushing down on it. And I'm not super strong in my arm muscles. And so nothing is happening. So then I bend down and I start pulling down on the tub spout. And I'm looking at the wall and I don't see any grooves for like the tub spout moving up or down. And so then I stopped thinking I'm going to break something. And I actually look back at the instructions and I noticed there's a drawing. And so it has the picture of the tub spout and it's pull in a downward motion. And it almost looks like something has to come out, but the water's running, so I can't see anything coming out. And so then I keep reading because there's more words at the bottom, and it says for further assistance, call Service Express by dialing 0. And honestly, I looked around the room to see if they had one of those phones in the bathroom or if I'd brought my cell phone in. I hadn't, and my two friends are waiting for me in the other room, and I couldn't bring myself to even go out there to get my phone. And I'm thinking through, like, what happens if someone comes in to help me turn on the shower? I'm in a towel, and it's going to be at least another 10, 15 minutes. And so I go back to the diagram. And I'm like, there must be something sticking out underneath the water. And so like I am disgusted because I have to put my hands in into an area that I've never seen before and see if I can pull something out. Fortunately, I was able to pull something down and turn on the shower. I'm laughing throughout this whole process just at how ridiculous it's been, because not only are there instructions for the shower, but there's actually third line support. And so I'm happy I was able to shower, but the whole time I was thinking, what were they thinking when they installed this? They probably had somebody buy a whole bunch for the hotel and not test it out in a room, because at the end of the day, the type of people that come into a hotel are ones that are there for like one night. You're taking a shower before you're going to bed or in the morning, as you're trying to rush to your morning meeting. And so it was really fascinating. And then a little bit more in terms of they know there's an issue with this shower because they've had to actually print out really nice tags for it as well. And so at what point do you pull back and go, okay, well, this isn't working. So then what would it take to pull them out and put new showers in as well? And so at the end of the day, the people that had sold the showers to the hotel chain, it probably resonated with them. Aesthetically, probably looks nice. It was the right price point, but they weren't thinking about their customer's customer. And so if this were in your home, it would probably work fantastic because you learn how to use it once and then use it every day. But for people that are coming in from other countries, from other cities, people that haven't ever seen this type of a shower before, then it creates a point of resistance. It creates a block. And so when we're creating processes and services, thinking about not just who the customer is, but also the customer's customer, and then figuring out when do we stop doing what we're doing and pull back and redo and rethink the solution that we've created. So this is all part of deeper clarity method. A lot of what we just talked about is understanding the customers a little bit better. And so that's more the connection phase. Before we even get into the connection phase is pulling the whole team together and getting them to agree on what is the actual problem that we're trying to solve. And then what are our top 2 measures of success? So how will we know that we have succeeded before we actually go in and understand who the end customers are? And just doing these 2 steps has made such a big difference in teams that we work with, so that they're on the same page and the teams continue to be on the same page as they move forward, as projects take months, sometimes years to finish off as well too. The last 2 parts of deeper clarity are about reframing. And so once you've gathered in all the information about your end customers, sometimes what you think the problem is isn't always the problem. And this reminds me of a time where I was actually working in a technology organization, and I was talking to the senior vice president there and trying to get funding for my project. And as I was chatting with him, I created this presentation of all the amazing benefits that my program would have. And as I watched him while I was talking, I started seeing him disconnect more and more. And I don't know how I got the wherewithal, but I stopped myself and I asked him, well, what are the two things that you would want to have as a benefit of this program? And they were things that were completely off of my radar. And once I said, oh, yeah, that is also benefits that are going to come from the program, because they were, it wasn't on my radar. After that, he was like, okay, I'm sold and you've got funding for this year. I had funding that year and then the following 2 years as the rest of the organization's being cut, because the end customer that I was trying to get the funding from was the vice president. And in order to get those funds, I needed to understand what his measures of success were. Same thing applies to all of our customers is once we understand them at a deeper level, what is it that they're really challenged with? What is the real problem that we're trying to solve for them? Being open to reframing it and then doing some experimentation, prototyping, testing, and bringing back that insight to the rest of the organization so that we can continue to build our knowledge and have that deeper understanding of clients. So this is another way that we take a look at our roadmap and the key steps for deeper clarity, starting out with the initial problem, measures of success, empathizing with the end client before we reframe and define what the problem is. The fun part, coming up with ideas, and then prototyping and testing. A lot of the time in organizations, what we are really great at is jumping into that solution mode. So coming up with ideas, and then sometimes we'll do prototyping and testing, but it takes a lot of work to pull back and stay in that problem space and spend that time understanding the problem, the people that are involved in it before we actually move into the solution mode. So maybe we could get to know each other just a smidge better. If you guys don't mind sharing the company and the industry that you're in, and what's the biggest challenge in your company or your industry right now?
Charles, do you want to go first?
Sure. Okay. So, let's see. I'm an engineer and I'm also a financial advisor. And I work with quite early stage technology companies like in the angel investment level.
Yeah,
And I'm helping them a lot of the time with their pitch decks to help them find funding.
yeah,
And I find in so doing, what that also means is that I end up helping them with the corporate direction of their marketing and a whole lot of other aspects to that. How I actually make money out of it as I do investments in some of the companies. And so,
okay.
but it's a very long term kind of proposition. But I also sell um, individual insurance and that sort of thing, which is corporately owned, as well as employee benefit plans and that kind of thing. That's where I make my day-to-day funding.
And what would you say the biggest change in your industry or company would be?
The biggest challenge that I have really is in the stability of the people that I'm dealing with, because people that I'm working with today may not be around next week
Right.
or next year. So there's a huge shift in the organization that I'm working with a lot of the time.
Okay, that's very helpful. Thank you. And Raj?
I'm in banking. I've done alternative lending and I've done commercial banking and business banking. And recently my position was restructured. So from though that experience, I'm in banking. What I notice is the biggest challenge is when the market shifts and it's harder to lend because there's uh, there's just no appetite, right? At times where it doesn't matter how strong of a company it is, if the banks decided the taps are closed, no matter how you mitigate the risk, it's there's a pause
Yeah, yeah.
unless you're a specific industry. For example, dentistry, they're usually easier to finance. But if you're a real estate looking for real estate type financing, when the taps are closed, the taps are closed.
Yeah, and so that's probably the biggest challenge right now, and also probably the biggest change in the industry as well, too, for you guys.
Yes,
Because there's been so long where the taps have been open and now they're closing down. Yeah,
that's
those
right.
are great. And so I actually I combined the two activities, the challenge as well as the change, because a lot of the time in organizations, there's one or two challenges that keep us up at night. And so, Raj, for you, it sounds like it's the closing of the taps and not being able to lend as easily. And for you, Charles, it's sort of the instability of the businesses that you're helping. Awesome. So a lot of the time when we talk to folks, um, the challenges lie in usually three places: people, process, technology. And Raj, there's a fourth one that we work with on some organizations, and that's the policy component of it. And so it sounds like yours is in the policy aspect of it.
I would say it's in the policy and process, because in the banks, there's so many different processes. Like you could probably do things a lot easier, but you've got to like double check and have different people go through the same thing a few times before you submit, etc. So I would say process and compliance, yeah, would be some of the challenges.
Yeah. And Charles, where do you think your challenge would lie in here?
Can you rephrase the question? You mean in terms of these three areas?
Yeah,
It's very definitely the people.
the people. Yeah.
How
And
so, Charles?
Well, because a lot of the time what they're having trouble doing is in joining up the process and the technology company that they're in. All right. But at the same time, it's the people end of the business is really what I'm serving in my financial advising capacity. And so truly understanding what their needs really are. I mean, it's usually about, you know, attaining and retaining talent, but what that really means to them is sometimes a challenge.
yeah,
That's
a
your
lot of the
question.
time. Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you. Yeah. A lot of the time, even the process and the technology challenges, the bigger component ends up being people, because at the end of the day, it's people that you need to use the technology. It's people that are going to be using the processes as well. And so how do we start to understand them at a deeper level? And so part of why we created the deeper clarity is to understand those people so that we can understand the problem better. A lot of the time, people fall into this gut assumption trap that we talked a little bit about earlier too, where there's not enough clarity or alignment within teams. People are overwhelmed with information, and they're not taking the time to understand customers and only using past experiences and gut feelings to design new products, services, and processes. And when times change significantly, and so especially like for the finance industry, past experiences aren't really able to guide us in the current situation that we're in, then what do we do? And so it's about pulling back and thinking about things a little bit differently so that we can see some new solutions evolving from that deeper understanding. A lot of the time, we use deeper clarity in organizations to help out with innovations, whether it's new product or service or process introduction, customer experience, employee experience, as well as my favorite, digital transformation. So as new products or new technologies are being brought in, how do you bring them in? What do you have to consider as you're bringing them in to make sure that it is a successful transformation? So at the end of the day, I have to remind myself the purpose of business is creating impact for people. And so it's the people that we want to understand at a deeper level, whether it's customers or whether it's employees. There's a huge relationship between customer and employee experience. Customers with highly engaged employees actually outperform their competitors by 147%. And companies that invest in employee experiences are 4 times more profitable than those that don't. And these are all off of an article from Forbes, but it's really fascinating, the interconnection of both customer and employee experience and customer and employee problems. They are very interconnected. And so when you're investing in an employee experience, it actually impacts the customer experience component of it as well. And it's about generating a higher return on investment. And at the end of the day, whether you're actually creating the process or the service or you're supporting it, customers want to have that human connection. Customers want to talk to humans. And when employees are happy, they're actually able to deliver better customer service, better customer experiences. So as I chat with organizations, one of the things that I love getting folks to do is to think about who are the currently the top 3 types of customers or end users you have. And so we've created this diagram where the ovals where you can put in who are your top customers. And so if you're thinking about either the type or the specific customer you have, you can put it into the circles. And then below it are 3 rectangles. And so what we ask people to do is pull back and think about who or what are the top 3 challenges for your customer. So I don't know if you guys would want to volunteer one particular type of customer that you guys are working with. It could be internal or external as well too. Like internal customer would be people in another department.
Credit, would that be considered for me, like,
Yeah,
because when we submit a deal, it's to be able to make sure that the communication between credit and the credit writers, like the business advisors, are aligned. And where I was previously, it didn't seem like there was an understanding, because the actual credit policies were not given to the advisors. So when the advisors are trying to put a deal together, they really don't have much to run with. So there's not a clear communication, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely. And so would you consider yourself as a business advisor?
I was working with the business advisors and credit. So I
Yeah,
would help the clients help the business advisors get the deal through, because
yeah,
there was lots of challenges with getting deals through. But then the biggest challenge is, okay, what are your policies? What are your directives on each deal? Like, how do you want it structured? If we don't have it and you're expecting something, you're obviously going to turn down everything, right?
yeah, absolutely. And then on the other end is how do we flip that around too and say, okay, business advisors, what are your top 3 challenges? And then credit folks, what are your top 3 challenges to get a little bit more insight into their perspective? Because there's usually a reason why people are doing what they're doing. And with that deeper insight, it might help us understand why they're doing it and also figure out what are some other ways around it in order to make sure that we're helping them out with their challenges themselves as well too. And so if you mentioned it from an advisor's perspective, what their challenges were, and then we would do this with the credit for folks as well too, is what are their challenges? And oftentimes when we work with organizations or businesses, it's really hard to actually think of your customers and their challenges because we're so focused on our challenges with the customers. And so turning it around actually might provide some insights. And so, Raj, when you're thinking about the credit folks, what do you think some of their challenges might be?
Well, they've got regulations that they need to adhere to,
Yeah,
because it's investors' money. That's so that they have to be very sound. So they can't take as much risk as, like, every risk has to be so finely mitigated for their perspective, so that when they're getting checked through, I guess, the regulatory boards, that are the deals, because it's our investment money, right? The banks,
yeah,
that's how they work. So their risk appetite is tighter, whereas the business advisor wants to get the deal done and
yeah.
through the finish line. So where and how do we meet, like, in mitigating the deal?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, great job of identifying the challenges too, because it's all about the risk mitigation for them. Their challenges are also there are regulations that they need to follow up. Is there maybe another challenge for the credit folks?
Well, they have to go through so many. So if it's not aligned and written up properly, and if there's little technical things that are missing, it just annoys them and like aggravates, like it's just basically they have lower tolerance to like move forward because they're like, okay, well, you know what? You can't do it right. Like, because if you've
Yeah.
missed a few points that, they just kind of want to move forward because they need to go through so many in a day.
Yeah, I love that. Uh, that is fantastic, like in terms of the challenges. And uh, if business advisors are able to see those the challenges that credit folks have and realize that they are going through so many and that if something's off, then it's going to end up encouraging them to actually make sure that they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's to make sure that they have a much better chance of going forward in a shorter period of time too. And a lot of the time when we're working with people, sometimes they have the same challenges as well, and we don't necessarily realize it, or it's very similar. And once we can identify challenges and what they are and sometimes find the similarities, it's actually a lot easier to collaborate and move forward together too. And so if these for you, Raj, these are also partners too. And so how do you help them move forward? And if you're able to help them solve all their challenges, then they're going to love you even more. So this is a lot about thinking about who our end customers are and identifying what their top challenges are. So I can go through an example of one we've done recently is with a lawn care organization. And so initially what they thought their challenge was is how can we have potential hires select us over competitors and stay with us? And when we asked them what their measures of success were is having efficient staff at 85% and retaining them, so 75% retention rate. When we looked at the challenge and then the measures of success, we realized that the measures of success are actually geared more towards the hires to stay. And so already we're starting to see that what they think their challenge is might not be their challenge. And so after we've identified the measures of success, we identified who the end customers are or who the end users are. This is an internal challenge. And so for them, their end customers were potential employees for the business. And when we looked at what type of potential employees they would be, it would most likely be unskilled, younger professionals. So we pulled back and we did some personas of what an unskilled professional would look like for this organization. Because it was around Christmas time, we named our persona ELF, and we went through what their goals, what their challenges, expectations, values, fears, and measures of success could be. We did this together. Ideally, you want to go out and actually do it with your end customer. So we would get a group of 3 to 8 potential customers to come in and understand what their goals, challenges, expectations, values, fears, and measures of success are, and pull it together to create a view actually from the customer perspective. I love doing the personas internally and then comparing it to what we find out from the actual customers to see where there's discrepancies, because those are often opportunities for innovation, opportunities to find solutions and look at things from a different perspective that you might not have, opportunities for reframing. So once we did the persona for our unskilled potential employees, we saw a couple of themes coming up around promotion, not being able to feel like they can grow fast enough. They want to have advancement in their career. And so instead of our initial problem being around how can we hire and retain employees, it was around how can we have potential hires select us over. So it was about how might we develop a career advancement roadmap for our employees with clear measures of success and identified to work towards. So we're going from having potential hires select us over competitors instead to how can we develop career advancement roadmap? And those are quite different. And the reason we've reframed it is from a deeper understanding of what the problem really is. And then from there, it's a lot easier to come up with ideas. And so ideas could be around showcasing current leaders' paths, communicating paths and levels, identifying high potential employees. There's a lot that can be done because we've honed in what that problem is for this particular type of employee. And so some of the prototypes that were there were based on an actual person. And so Robert was a supervisor. And so if you want to go the supervisor route, then Robert's a great example, and you can showcase what his path was, or you could actually just do a generic supervisor path and make sure that you're able to showcase what are some of the skills that you need and what are some of the things that you need to be doing to get to that supervisor path. Same with team leader, COO path, whatever different types of growth opportunities there are within the organization. And actually, innovation's not always easy because it's about looking at things from different perspectives. I have a fantastic video that I'd love to share with you guys. Can you guys see that?
Is it moving by itself? Can't be.
Help change things.
Oh, sorry, Duffy.
Cool. It's unnatural. Wow. It's even rollier.
They go way too fast. Way too fast. There's no beginning and no end. They're just circles. I call it the wheel. Oh. Should we burn them? Let's just undermine them.
Make them feel weird.
I don't totally understand it. My friend Leanne's really into it. She's super smart.
She got me into shoes really early.
Oh yeah, she's way early on shoes.
What if there are two wheels?
Where would we even put that other wheel?
I don't get caught up in the hype. People get caught up in the hype and it causes all kinds of problems. So we all agree change is bad.
Progress doesn't work. Ponzi scheme.
Fad.
Sometimes the future is right in front of you if you're ready for it.
I love this commercial.
Roll it up.
I'm not going to play it again. I don't love it that much, but
It's a great commercial. So I think
Yeah.
it's applicable for a lot of different things. So that's why I love it.
yeah, like it showcases change is difficult, and they've really captured that super well. And also within organizations too, is if they're not the ones that have thought of the idea, then it's a little bit harder to move forward. And so making sure that we're understanding people and then looking out for things that we might not be able to see, because sometimes we're even blind to the obvious. And so just keeping in mind that there are things that if we look at it from different people's perspectives, then we might be able to get to a little bit easier too. So I always think of deeper clarity as a tool to see into the future, to identify customers, employees, digital trends, because you're constantly listening and looking out for things that you might not be seeing. I have another video here that I'm going to play for you guys if that's okay. I know it's two videos back to back, but this is also one of my favorites. Here we go. Some of you guys might have seen this before. If you have, just wait till the end and we'll chat about it.
Attention.
So this is a selective attention test.
Count how many times the players wearing white pass the basketball. How many passes did you count?
Have you guys seen this one before?
Yeah, that's a classic. I've
Yeah.
seen it lots of times.
And Charles and Raj, have you guys seen this before?
No, I have not.
I don't know if I've seen that specific one, but I did see the gorilla passing by. Is that what I
Yeah.
was looking to find? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I saw this the first time, I was so busy counting and I got the wrong number of passes.
Correct answer is 15 passes.
Yeah.
But did you see the gorilla?
And I did not see the gorilla.
No, he
Yeah,
cannot.
most people,
Oh, yeah.
Raj is exceptionally smart, but most people, when they see it the first time, they don't notice the gorilla. So that's
Yeah.
why it's yeah, I think this stemmed from a psychology experiment they did at a university.
Very
years ago.
interesting.
Video is from research by Daniel Simons and Christopher Chabris and is copyrighted.
I love this because it definitely showcases that we are blind to certain things, even though they're in front of us. And so how do we create methods and processes so that we're able to see the things that we're blind to? Because at the end of the day, we're blind to our blindness as well, too. So I think part of the reason for that deeper clarity method that we have and the mindsets around it too, is because we want to make sure that people are starting to look for the things that they can't see in a structured way so that they can help everyone in the organization see the things that we can't see. So just getting back into the steps of the deeper clarity method, the problem, the measures of success, understanding the customers at a deeper level before we define what the problem is. If we're spending time understanding the customers at a deeper level through tools like personas, empathy maps, journey maps, data, then through bringing all that together, we'll be able to see things that we actually weren't able to see before. And so I like to have customers thinking through, like, how do your current processes, programs, products, or services work? Do they work? How do you know that they work? How happy are your customers? How happy are your employees? And so how do you get at this information? Do you have access to this information? And the best way to understand this is actually talking to your customers. A lot of organizations do surveys, and now I think people have survey fatigue, but there's also another component of it because a survey is just one point in time. And so it's almost like it's checking the temperature, checking the pulse of things. But the intent of deeper clarity is doing it continuously so that you understand your customers as they're shifting before everybody else does. Understand your employees as they're shifting before everybody else does as well, too. When we look at the state of organizations in 2023, I looked up a really interesting McKinsey report, and it looked at the top 10 things that organizations were struggling with in 2023 and looking to enhance more going forward. And the three that struck me were the top three in here is increasing the speed and strengthening resilience. So organizations want to move faster and be able to respond to things and provide power to people and develop a culture of that continuous learning. And I think deeper clarity is really great for that. And then people going more into true hybrid, where there's a new balance of in-person and remote work, and then closing the capability chasm for there's gaps in core activities, and often it ends up in inefficient resources or inconsistent commitment. And so how do we make sure that we're closing those gaps and making it more consistent? So deeper clarity is a lot about, it actually fits in really well with all of them, but the top three, especially in there too, is being able to help increase the speed of organizations, give power back to the people because they have a methodology and a mindset, and then continuously allowing them to learn, experiment. And we chatted a little bit earlier about the types of customers and the challenges, which ones were employee-based, which ones were customer-based. At the end of the day, what we're doing this is for business success as well as for project success. And so making sure that we're delivering intended impact to end users, having customer satisfaction, team unity, building that team really well, learning and having new experiences for future revenue, and then ideally getting things on time and on budget. Are there any other things that you guys might consider as measures of success for a project or for your business?
I think those are the key factors that you have right there, Neil.
Okay, fantastic.
How about profitability?
I think that ties into revenue.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, absolutely. Profitability is huge for a business. Yeah, even though a project might be on time and on budget, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be profitable. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to sell it, and it doesn't necessarily mean you can make profit on it. So absolutely. A lot of the time, people don't necessarily realize how much is spent at the start of a project. And this depends on the complexity and the size of the project. And so I was chatting with a friend of mine earlier who works in an insurance company earlier this week. And she was on a call earlier that morning with a meeting with 145 people in it. That's a lot of people. And so when you think about the amount of time that's spent starting up a project, it should be reflective of the size of the project, the number of people that are working on it, and then the extent to which it's changing stuff. And so if it's minor changes, usually you don't need that much time to start up a project. But if it's major changes, major reframing, then you're going to need a lot more time. And then how much is it worth to you to get going faster in that collaborative environment? And so if you have even, say, 5 people working on a project and you're able to increase their speed by a week, what does that mean to you as an organization? Probably quite a bit. And then to be able to have them doing it continuously, it's even bigger. Maybe we could do a quick self-assessment, and then I'll close it off afterwards. If you want to think about a project or an initiative that you've recently completed or one that you're currently working on, as you're doing the assessment, it might help out quite a bit. So do you guys have a project in mind? You don't have to tell me, but just think of it as we're going through. And then think about how the team was working together. And so we have sort of a scale. So on the left hand is if your organization, was your team not aligned regarding project goals and priorities, or was your team always aligned at the start regarding project goals and priorities? So think about where you fit in between 1 and 10 and keep track of your score. I'm not going to ask you your score for each one, but it'll give you an idea of areas that you might want to focus in on with deeper clarity. Number 2 is our team defines measurable success criteria to guide our project. So where would you rate yourself between 1 and 10? And then tie up your scores for 1 and 2. And so that's going to be your score for alignment. And then number 3 is our team approaches projects with open minds in a trusted space, allowing diverse methods to achieve objectives. So from a score of 1 to 10, how would you rate yourself? Number 4 is our team encourages creative ideas and carefully evaluates solutions. So how do you rate yourself between 1 and 10? And then you want to add up numbers 3 and 4 for a score. And that score is going to be around innovation for you. And then number 5 is our team uses consistent methods to understand customers, including their needs, expectations, and challenges. Number 6 is our team assesses progress against success criteria and adapts to stay on track. Number 7 is our team delivers projects on time and within budget. And add up your scores for 5, 6, and 7. And that'll be your score for process. And then number 8 is our team continually validates our assumptions with users or the customers. Number 9 is our team creates and tests simple prototypes with users or customers. And number 10 is our products or services consistently exceed customer expectations. And add up your score, and that'll be your end user driven score. So when you guys were scoring yourselves, was there one particular question where you got under 7, where you gave yourself a score of under 7? Charles, Raj, Pascal?
Not for me. I didn't have any score 7 or below.
That's awesome. And Charles and Raj, you guys are
Yeah,
above?
no, I was above 7.
Okay, awesome. That's fantastic. And so what we tell people is usually if you have a score of, for A and B, a score of 14 or under, then these are areas that we'd want to work on a little bit more with your team or your organization. And then for C and D, then if you have a score of less than 21, then these are the areas that we want to work on. Moving away from the assessment itself, for you guys, do you feel like there's particular areas that your team or your organization could really use some help in? Whether it's alignment, innovation, process, or being a little bit more end user driven?
Well, we're doing something new. So we read the book, The 12-Week Year. I don't know if you're familiar with that book.
No.
I highly recommend it. So instead of planning on an annual basis and looking at what are we doing every month, every week, instead of working backwards, we're trying to get our goals faster. And so we're implementing this process. So we're looking at 3 months at a time, putting all the goals, and there's a self-assessment component on a weekly basis. So every week we know what we need to do, and it's maximum 3 goals. It's a very good book, highly recommend it. So that's something new we're doing. We're moving away from annual planning to 12-week plans.
I love that. Yeah. So you guys are really working on the process component of it.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Charles or Raj, any particular area you guys want to work on or are working on?
I have to come back and look at this again because I'm a one-person show.
Yeah.
So translating it into the team concept into how I am doing it and looking at criteria in order to measure it for myself, I really have to think about it. But yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, I'm
And
not. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh, I was just going to say that this is best for teams and teams that, and it's even better for when multiple teams are working together as well too, because this is where some of the challenges really pop up. Raj, you were going to say?
Yeah, I mean, there's an event I'm putting together at for a mental health awareness at the art gallery, and there have been some challenges in, I mean, now we're close to getting to the finish line, so it's come together, but there was a lot of miscommunication, and I wonder where the process kind of, and I don't really want to go into this very detailed
Okay.
in as this is being recorded, but if yeah, I'd love to see what your input is if just to see like, okay, what could I have done in order to make it more smoother because there were some communication gaps. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a really fantastic point. A lot of organizations we go into, they bring us in because there are communication challenges. At the end of the day, it actually ends up being usually around alignment, process, or not being end user driven enough for everybody. And so it's that one I'd love to chat later as well too, if you wanted some insights or feedback. But usually when we work with organizations, there's areas that they're doing really well, but there's always room for improvement too. And so how can you improve what you're already doing? And sometimes organizations are doing many aspects of deeper clarity. And so how can we help them take it up to an even higher notch as well too? And so we chat a lot about factors that contribute to the scores and then getting folks to think through what is your score preventing you from doing as well. And so if you maybe need a little bit more your scores weren't as good in the alignment or the innovation, what is that preventing you from doing? So there's 10 things that teams can do in order to be able to work a lot more effectively together. And number one is aligning on common understanding. And so understanding what the environment is that you are coming from, what mandate there is, why your team was assembled, and then making sure that there's clarity around project goals, listing out what number two would be listing out what your challenges are. Oftentimes there's a whole bunch of things happening within the team, within organizations. And so getting the team to focus in on what is that one true thing that you guys are looking to have solved. And then number three is setting the clear metrics, clear success metrics. Four is around using a more customer-centric approach. So empathizing with the different types of end clients that you have to get those insights so that you can actually truly articulate what the real problem is. And then number five is escaping that gut assumption trap. So validating the assumptions along the way and seeking direct feedback from customers. And number six is reframing the problem and being open to reframing it. And one thing you might see in the slides that I'm not talking about is there's mindsets that go along with each of these as well too, for yourself, for the team, so that it's a little bit easier to get to the ultimate success component of it. Number seven is fostering a dynamic mindset. And so creating psychological safety environments and having diverse members feel open to be able to share ideas without biases. And that's when bringing in the end customers really helps out for that aspect of it too. Number 8 and 9 are coming up with ideas, evaluating them, prototyping, testing, and always number 10 is ensuring continuous alignment. You're going to find new information as you go through each of these steps. And so going back to those measures of successes along the way and making sure that there's alignment within the team as you move forward. So we were chatting earlier about how it helps a lot to have that team aligned. It really helps out with efficiencies and speeds up things. And so even if you had a small team of 5 people making a salary of $80,000 and you were able to speed that up by 1 week, speed up that gelling, that norming, storming, making sure that people are aligned, speaking the same language, understanding their end customers, that's 10K right off the bat. Complex organizations, people are usually brought together with more than 10 people, usually with higher salaries. And it's not just 1 week of conflict, there's conflict that ends up coming up throughout. And when I say conflict, it's more around not necessarily knowing that you're not on the right page, not fully aligned, thinking that you're creating one part of the solution or towards a certain type of a client, but it's another. And so there's challenges that come up along the way. And so how do we reduce them? How do we reduce that friction and keep the team focused and speaking the same language as they move forward and getting to market a lot faster? So we're a lot about future proofing through connection with customers, with the team itself too, so that you can get to results. And we do a lot of training. Some of it is around design thinking, and we incorporate aspects of deeper clarity. But we also have deeper clarity solutions where we'll actually go in and do workshops with your team, as well as talk to your end customers with you so that you can see how it works, get the information from the end customers so that you can actually be able to reframe it in the sessions and then come up with results at the very end. And then we also have an enterprise-wide solution where if you want to bring it into your organization, then we have the tools to provide you the material, train the trainer, and then ongoing continuous support and refreshing of material as new information is added. I love this quote. And I think I might end it off in this, and then I'll open it up to Q&A. If you think it's expensive to do customer research, what do you think it costs not to understand your customers? Who do you think, what type of an organization do you think put this quote out? I'll take any guesses.
A marketing research company.
It looks like it.
Consulting firm of some sort.
Consulting firm. It does look like it. This one is actually from the UK Revenue Agency.
Oh, wow. Interesting.
Really?
That's the
Yeah.
last thing I would have guessed.
Yeah, absolutely. If you think it's expensive to do customer research, what do you think it costs not to understand your customers? And they did it because they were having challenges with people filing their taxes. And so they were assuming that people didn't want to file their taxes, but they actually took time to go out and talk to people that hadn't filed their taxes. And it wasn't because they didn't want to pay their taxes. It was because the process was so confusing. The wording was so confusing that they felt lost. They didn't know what to do. And so they just didn't do anything. And so they brought in a different mindset as they were redoing the processes and the system and the service itself. And instead of thinking about how can we catch people that don't file their taxes, it's how can we make it easier for people to file their taxes? And that makes such a big difference in the types of services, tools, processes that you have in place. And it increased the rate of return significantly. And so with that, I'm going to stop right there. And see if you guys have any questions or thoughts.
I thought I love the exercises, lots of things to think about, lots of value there. So thank you very much. I definitely think, lots of food for thought. And of course, always having the end customer in mind is what you need to do to be profitable and stay profitable. So great exercises. And I love the different levels of education you provide. So loved all that. Charles, do you have a comment?
Not really. I just appreciated the mindset, and it's making me think in some different directions. It's going to help me to dig into and understand my clients a bit better because I can maybe see a little bit more what their miscommunications are internally in their own company. I think that's going to be very helpful. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thanks. Raj, any thoughts?
Yeah, well, it got me kind of curious as to the event that I'm putting together. It's a collaborative event with different partnerships. and like where was or is like how could I be a part of making it have been better? So um I'm gonna dig deep. I was wondering, can we get a copy of your slide? So if we can work through it just to kind of as an example.
So I actually have an activity book that I can send to Pascal, and she can send it out to you guys if you want.
Yes,
That might be a little
please.
bit better. And it also has a portion where it gets you to think about past clients and then future clients as well. So tying in a little bit of strategic foresight to what you're doing, that might help you think a little bit as you move forward, especially if you're working with forward-looking organizations that are looking to create solutions for the future. A lot of the time, even in large organizations, it takes a long time to implement some of the solutions. And so what the needs of customers now versus what they might be in 2 or 3 years could be different. So I think the activity book might be really great for you, Raj.
Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. So this recording will be on YouTube. So thanks again. And thanks, Raj and Charles, for being here. I appreciate it.